So hello everyone, I am Michael Hoskins, the District Sales Manager for NICE CX1. My territory, I'm actually up in Orlando, so I'm kind of northern Florida. So I'm helping some people out down here in the south. Kind of just sort of frame your questions as we go through this. I want to give you kind of an example of my past. I actually came from a customer of In Contact, so that's what you may remember us as in the past at Gaylord Hotels up in Nashville. So I was a customer for about 5 years, then came on board with In Contact at the time, and was a WFO design specialist, sales engineer, senior sales engineer, and now at this point in time, district sales manager. So about 13 years experience around this software, essentially here. So when we're looking at the contact center, digital plays a big role inside of that. And today, when you have a question about something, what do? Where do you go? From the audience perspective. That's it exactly. So typically, you'll start out at a Google. You may go to the customer or the company's website. In my house, if I don't know the answer, Google it. That's typically my answer for everything. So, all customers, they really have needs events that are happening. Those needs events, maybe they need to purchase something, purchase an insurance policy, going to buy a new cell phone, maybe purchase something from retail, or maybe they need to schedule something that's going on out there. And there's multiple kind of needs events examples that are here that customers are essentially needing to do. There's something at the end goal of that. And when we look at contact centers, this is kind of starting the evolution of contact center, so to speak. Contact center from a cloud perspective, 1.0 is just getting it in the cloud. And then kind of the 2.0 of that is, we're adding voice bots that aren't really helping the customer. They're just causing friction, essentially, inside of those interactions. So I know I've called many of IVRs and been ticked by the time I actually got to somebody, and you're hammering in on the zero, and eventually you get to somebody and your resolution is there. But when you kind of look at the future of the contact centers, that's when you have that needs event, but then you're having that frictionless self-service so that you can actually have a conversation with the AI, with the technology that is in the background. So when it comes to, I want to order that new phone, well, why do I need to necessarily speak to somebody? I know that I want to order an iPhone, or I need to schedule that doctor's appointment. Well, why do I actually need to talk to somebody when I can just say I'm available at this time, and the system comes back and gives me time slots that doctor has open? Or better yet, something that I do with my dentist all the time, I send a text message. Why do I need to talk to somebody inside of the office when I can send a text message and get a list of times that I can schedule said appointment? So that's kind of looking at the evolution of it, where we're getting into more of that fully conversational area that's there. If there's one big takeaway that I want you to remember, it would be this slide that's here. So right now, there's a Harvard Business Review that has been done. 81% of customers attempt self-service themselves through the digital doorway. And what do you think that digital doorway is? It's Google. So when you first have that question that's come up, you're essentially going to go to Google. You're asking that question. But what's showing up inside of that Google search that's there? It's a YouTube video created by any one of us inside of this room. It may not necessarily be related, that company's material. It may be a Reddit post that's coming up there, or some forum that's coming up. But the company that I was searching for, how to use the self-cleaning function on my LG oven because it has 2 self-cleaning functions. I don't know what the heck they do. And so where do I go? I go to Google to find that out. And it's YouTube videos essentially that's shown up there. So when you're looking at that, there's a disconnect that's happening from what the customer is wanting, that material to be present, and what we're actually delivering today. So today we're delivering 83% of the interactions have to go to a human. Well, why do I need to talk to somebody? It goes back to that appointment perspective there versus self-service. So when you look inside of this 81%, obviously this is your Google searches that are happening out there. This also, inside of that digital doorway, it could be an app for the company. So an app for Verizon, T-Mobile, any of the carriers, any insurance carrier or whatever. It could be some proactive approach that's happening out there, or even going to the customer's website or the company's website in general. But the website's just not giving me the information that I want either. So then, obviously, when we're meeting them inside of that digital doorstep that's there, what we're doing is we're pulling information from knowledge bases that the customer has, and we're presenting that information inside of Google. So we're pushing that content up, utilizing SEO. And when that content is pushed up at the top, it's not a forum that I'm reading the answers from. It's actually the customer's website that I'm pushing information or pushing the customer to. So I'm guiding that customer into the channels and into the information that I want them to see ultimately. And then as we see, that other 19%, they're going to go to phone, they're going to go straight to chat. No matter what you give them, they're essentially going to do that. But when you look inside of that, inside of that beginning that's there, as well as once it actually has to go to an individual, these are all the different channels that the CX1 platform supports. So looking at that essentially you have all your voice channels, looking at all the digital channels, all the social media platforms, all the messaging apps. Some of these are global messaging apps, so that they're not really familiar necessarily here, but if you go into other countries, search engine optimization from that perspective, as well as in-app messaging. So from Apple or from Android. So say that I was doing that search how to use my oven in a particular way. That's popped up to the front. It's giving me the answer. I know the answer is right there, but I still just want to talk to somebody. Well, there's things that we can also do that when I click on that number in Google or on the website, because I'm using Apple Business Chat, your iPhone essentially is going to ask you, do you want to call this number or do you want to text this number? Because then I can start a text interaction with the organization without actually having to talk to an individual. And that text interaction may be using knowledge that's sitting in the background. I'm asking it the question, and it's just pulling that information up front to me directly there. So kind of looking at that customer journey to help kind of get us to meeting that customer at the digital doorstep there. That's where we pull different things in, such as proactively engaging with customers through Contact Engine, expert to be able to pull that knowledge, pull it up to the front for inside of Google, guide to help guide the customer through the website. So I had a clothing store that I was working with, and they were having problems with specialty sizing. So they had specialty sizing, and in that sizing, when women would get the clothing, they would be like, yeah, that's not my size, but the reality is it was their size. It was just this company has special sizing. So that's where something like Guide is going to be able to proactively advise them and such of those things that are going on, even in the buying process, but even in the returns process or the customer support process that may happen afterwards. digital messaging, as well as virtual agents. And with the collection of this is essentially what helps to alleviate the majority of the live interactions. Customers that we've implemented the CXI products with have come back to us and said, literally, these products are printing money for us. I don't have to hire agents. These products are selling stuff for me inside of my contact center. And I'll tell you, these things that are here, these aren't just for the masses, of agent count inside of contact centers. I've sold these in contact centers with 100 agents, these products, and it's essentially because they know what their business volume, where they're going, or they have a competitor that they want to beat. So, any contact center that you work with, they're essentially going to have a marketing team, when it's, on the 50 or agent or so area, they're going to have a marketing team, and somebody is looking at digital inside of that organization. Or it may be the contact center director that's there. Somebody is going to be paying attention to what's happening from a digital strategy or a digital perspective inside of those centers. Any questions so far? Any questions about NICE in general, or NICE CX1, or how do you find opportunities? Any questions about that? Yeah. So let's see. So one thing that I have found definitely beneficial from looking, when I look at the field and I'm looking for opportunities. Who do you have these conversations with about the digital? Who do you have the contact center conversations with? Or you may say, Michael, who is helping you essentially win the opportunity inside of the contact centers? And I would say that the vast majority of the opportunities that I have worked with, it is a director of customer support. It sometimes has even started as a manager inside of the organization. It's also marketing, so a director of marketing. Those are the people that on the digital side, that sometimes this gets siloed. And so what I have found that has been the most helpful, because I've also went in IT as well and just rode that home, but then by the time I get to the business has already been talking to somebody else. And that may be somebody else that my partner that I'm working with didn't have a registration with that someone else. So when working with these organizations, my recommendation is, always, and we help with this, always work to build that sphere of influence. And that sphere of influence, it's IT, but definitely on the contact center in the business side. Because at the end of the day, what happens there, what's the biggest cost to a company? Their biggest cost is the labor dollars. Well, who holds the purse, or who holds the first purse to that labor dollar that's sitting there? It's that director of that contact center. They are in control of massive amounts of cash that's essentially going out for that. So if you can put anything in front of the director of the contact center to say, hey, I'm going to reduce, your overall headcount by X, and these are the tools that I'm going to use. I'm going to use workforce management to be able to reduce here. I'm going to use automation. We're going to be able to reduce there. I'm going to cut telco cost and such. That once you get into the finance and we're going to the CFO for final approvals, that's where we win at predominantly. How am I on time? Good. Okay. Any questions? So I think the big takeaway here, obviously the CX1 platform, we're looking to to meet customers at that digital doorway. So there's that perspective of it. And then in the past, so some of the past of CX1 or the past of InContact, as you may know it of, is we started out as a telecom carrier. And that's going way back to the UCN days. We were selling long distance. The CEO that we had then, still the CEO that we have now, and the company has, 14 years ago or so, started into the ACD world, and to move us to more of a software company. But the great thing about that is we've kept all of that that past infrastructure that was there, so kept that carrier status, so to speak, that's there. And then as we have grown, obviously, we've pulled more platforms in. So when I've talked about a lot of these, when you're looking at the WFM platforms, the analytic platforms, the ACD, the digital strategy stuff that we have, we're the owner of those platforms. So it gives us kind of a unique advantage because they've been, the code for them essentially has been rewritten and revamped and embedded into the CX1 experience to give like an all-in-one, all-encompassing agent experience as well as a consumer experience for our customers. So if there's no other questions or anything, I'll turn it back over. Yeah.
Talk about how big you are in the space.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So employee count, last number I heard were about 7,000, and that's globally. So we have customers globally. When you look at the agent count, it's sitting at about 650 million plus. 650,000, sorry. Let me correct that. Plus agents that sit on the platform. And that was some statistics that I recall from late last year. So I know it's grown since then. But, I mean, ultimately, while, we do extremely large contact centers, upwards of 14, 15, 20,000 agents, we got our start on the 10, 20, 30 agents, that SMB area. 14 years ago when you would look at us and if you would talk to somebody at Avaya, they would laugh at us at what we were doing. But our focus was inside of that SMB space. And had our focus not been there and continues to be there, if we weren't focused there, we would never be where we are today. So the SMB space is extremely important for us overall because it's what got us to where we are, ultimately. Good. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. So we're going to have one more.